The Nexeri High Command had spent decades studying Earth from afar, certain they had discovered the perfect civilization to absorb into their ever-expanding empire. Their surveillance suggested a species that had barely mastered rudimentary space travel, whose military capabilities seemed limited to their own solar system. The humans would make excellent servants, once properly subjugated. Admiral Zenaval stood at the command center of the Nexeri flagship, Eternal Dawn, her iridescent scales shifting colors with anticipation as she reviewed the final phase of their carefully crafted plan. The diplomatic mission would be their masterpiece, a bloodless conquest through manipulation and technological intimidation. Status report on the Earth delegation, she commanded, her voice carrying the musical undertones characteristic of her species. They've accepted our invitation for the summit, Admiral, her second-in-command, Commander Rax, reported. Their representatives will arrive at the neutral station in the Proxima Centauri system within the next solar cycle. The humans had responded exactly as predicted to their first contact message, with enthusiasm and openness. Such naivety would be their undoing. The Nexeri had performed this dance countless times before, using the promise of advanced technology and galactic fellowship to lure developing civilizations into their web. What the Nexeri didn't know was that Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's chief negotiator, had already seen through their facade. As she prepared for the upcoming summit aboard the Earth vessel Horizon, she reviewed the subtle inconsistencies in the Nexeri's communication patterns that had triggered her suspicions. Their language is too perfect, she explained to General Marcus Rodriguez during their final briefing. Every idiom, every cultural reference, it's as if they've been studying us for years. That level of preparation suggests motives beyond simple diplomatic contact. Rodriguez nodded, his weathered face betraying no emotion. The Security Council agrees with your assessment. Operation Shadow Web is already in position. The Nexeri think they're setting a trap, but they're walking right into ours. Across the solar system, humanity's true technological capabilities remained hidden beneath a carefully constructed veneer of limitation. Quantum computers disguised as primitive mainframes, antimatter weapons masked as fusion reactors, fleets of advanced warships held in dimensional pocket space, invisible to even the most sophisticated alien sensors. The summit station hung in space like a jewel, its crystalline structure seemingly designed to showcase the Nexeri's architectural superiority. As the Earth delegation's shuttle approached, Admiral Val watched with satisfaction. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The first sign that something was wrong came during the formal introductions. Dr. Chen's translator device malfunctioned, forcing the Nexeri to reveal they could speak perfect English. It was a small slip, but one that confirmed her suspicions. Your mastery of our language is impressive, Chen remarked casually. One might almost think you've been studying us for quite some time. Admiral Val's scales flickered briefly with anxiety before she regained control. We are quick learners, she deflected smoothly. Your Earth languages are quite simple compared to others we have encountered. The diplomatic dance continued through several cycles of negotiations. The Nexeri offered technological gifts that were actually surveillance devices. The humans appeared appropriately grateful while their quantum AI systems quietly dissected and nullified each piece of alien tech. When the Nexeri finally revealed their true intentions, it was with the theatrical flourish that had worked so well with other species. Admiral Val's form seemed to grow larger as she delivered the ultimatum. Submit to Nexeri authority or face annihilation. The human's reaction was not what she expected. Instead of fear or outrage, Dr. Chen simply smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. I was wondering when we'd get to this part, she said quietly. You know, Admiral, there's something you should understand about humans. We're not just quick learners. We're particularly good at learning from history. The station's lights flickered, and suddenly the Nexeri's command systems went dark. Their neural interfaces with the station's technology severed as if they had never existed. For instance, Chen continued, We learned long ago that any sufficiently advanced alien civilization making contact was as likely to be a threat as a friend. So we prepared accordingly. Around the station, space itself seemed to ripple as humanity's hidden fleet emerged from dimensional pocket space. Vessels that dwarf the Nexari ships, bristling with weapons technologies that the Admiral's sensors couldn't even begin to classify. You studied us for decades. General Rodriguez's voice came through on all frequencies, but you only saw what we wanted you to see. Now, Admiral Val, let us show you what humanity is really capable of. The Nexari's perfect plan had just become their worst nightmare. First contact wasn't going wrong for humanity. It was going wrong for them. Admiral Val's scales had shifted to a pale gray, the Nexari equivalent of shock, as she watched the massive human fleet materialize around her position. The void of space seemed to bend and twist as more ships emerged from what her scientists frantically reported as localized dimensional anomalies. This wasn't possible. It couldn't be possible. You're wondering how we hid all this, Dr. Chen said, gesturing to the holographic display showing the full extent of Earth's armada. The same way we've hidden everything else. Humanity learned long ago that appearing weak while being strong was far more advantageous than the reverse. Deep within Earth's quantum defense network, Dr. Maya Patel watched as decades of preparation finally bore fruit. As the chief architect of humanity's technological deception program, she had overseen the development of what they called the Veil Protocol, a planetary-scale technological camouflage system that had successfully fooled even the most advanced alien surveillance. Quantum field stabilization at 100%, she reported through the secure network. All ships are successfully transitioning from pocket space. The Nexari sensors are still trying to classify our tech as system errors. The human vessels weren't just warships. They were the product of generations of hidden advancement. Each one carried what humanity had dubbed Clark-level technology, systems so advanced they would appear as magic to most civilizations. Quantum-entangled communication arrays that couldn't be intercepted or jammed. Gravity manipulation engines that could tear apart space itself. Weapon systems that operated on principles the Nexari hadn't even theorized yet. Admiral Val found her voice at last. "This is impossible," she declared, though her tone lacked conviction. "Our intelligence networks have monitored your civilization for decades. You barely have a presence beyond your moon." General Rodriguez smiled grimly. "Did you really think those clunky chemical rockets and primitive satellites were our real space program? Everything you saw was a carefully orchestrated show. Those primitive satellites, quantum-linked nodes in our defensive grid, those basic space stations, forward operating bases with full dimensional shifting capabilities." The Nexari command staff watched in horror as their supposedly superior scanning systems were systematically denied access to their own ships' networks. Human AI systems, far more advanced than anything the Nexari had encountered, had already compromised and mapped their entire command structure. "You should see your faces," Dr. Chen remarked, almost sympathetically. "Though I suppose we had similar expressions when we first detected your surveillance attempts 30 years ago. That was our wake-up call, the proof that we weren't alone in the universe. But instead of revealing that we knew, we turned it to our advantage. Through the station's windows, more of humanity's true capabilities became visible. What appeared to be simple asteroids in nearby space began to move, revealing themselves as massive automated defense platforms. The entire solar system had been fortified in plain sight, with the Nexari never realizing they were watching elaborate decoys. The really interesting part, Dr. Patel's voice came through clearly on the station speakers, having easily overridden its communication systems, is that what you're seeing now still isn't everything. Humanity has always excelled at redundancy in our defense planning." As if to emphasize her point, new readings began appearing on the Nexari sensors. The ones that still worked. Quantum signatures unlike anything their science had documented began emerging from Earth's direction. The planet's entire magnetic field was realigning itself, revealing layers of defensive systems that had been hidden within the planet's natural phenomena. "You see, Admiral," General Rodriguez continued, "while you were studying us, making plans to subjugate what you thought was a primitive species, we were preparing for exactly this scenario. Every piece of technology you thought you could use to control us, we reversed engineered it from your surveillance devices years ago and developed countermeasures." Admiral Val's scales had now shifted to a deep blue, a sign of deep distress among her species. "Why?" she managed to ask. "Why maintain such an elaborate deception?" Dr. Chen's expression hardened slightly. "Because we needed to understand the true nature of galactic civilization, and you've shown us exactly what we feared, that advanced species see those they consider lesser as nothing but resources to be exploited. We needed to know if there were any genuine allies out there, or if humanity would need to forge its own path." "And now?" Val asked, already dreading the answer. "Now," General Rodriguez replied, "we're going to have a very different kind of discussion about the future of human-Nexeri relations, one where you understand exactly who you're dealing with." The general's words hung in the air as Earth's defense grid fully activated, creating a web of quantum-locked space that would prevent any Nexeri ship from attempting to flee. The hunters had become the hunted, and humanity was about to demonstrate just how prepared they truly were for this moment. The next 48 hours demonstrated to the galaxy why humanity's apparent weakness had been their greatest strength. As the Nexeri's hidden reinforcement fleet emerged from hyperspace, their supposed trump card, they found themselves walking into a trap centuries in the making. Captain Sarah Martins of the Earth vessel Artemis watched her tactical display with cold satisfaction. The Nexeri backup fleet had arrived exactly where predicted, their hyperspace signatures detected hours before emergence by Earth's quantum sensor network. "All ships, execute Operation Checkmate," she commanded, her voice carrying across the quantum-entangled command network. The response was immediate and devastating. Hundreds of human vessels shifted out of dimensional pocket space, their positions calculated to box in the Nexeri fleet perfectly. But it wasn't just the positioning that caught the aliens off guard. It was the nature of humanity's attack. "Target their quantum probability matrices," Martins ordered. "Let's show them why we kept our quantum mechanics research classified." The human fleet's primary weapons weren't the conventional energy beams or projectiles the Nexeri had prepared for. Instead, concentrated beams of altered quantum states struck their ships, causing localized probability cascades. Nexeri technology, based on predictable physical laws, began to fail as the very nature of reality around their vessels became uncertain. Admiral Val, still contained within the diplomatic station, watched in horror as her empire's finest ships began to lose cohesion. "This defies all known physics," she whispered, her scales now a sickly white. "No," Dr. Chen corrected her. "It defies all physics known to you. Humanity didn't just advance our technology. We fundamentally changed our understanding of how the universe works." The battle, if it could even be called that, demonstrated the full extent of humanity's hidden capabilities. Earth ships moved with impossible precision, their quantum drives allowing them to exist in multiple probable locations simultaneously. Their weapons didn't just destroy. They rewrote the local laws of physics themselves. Commander Elena Volkov, leading the Earth's Special Operations Team, stepped onto the bridge of the Nexeri flagship through what appeared to be a localized wormhole. Her quantum phase armor made her nearly invisible to Nexeri sensors, a ghost in their systems. "Your encryption was impressive," she told the stunned Nexeri bridge crew. "But it's hard to maintain security when we can literally alter the probability of your codes being broken to 100%. Across the battlefield, humanity's true military doctrine revealed itself. They hadn't just prepared for war, they had revolutionized it. Each human ship operated as part of a vast quantum-entangled network, sharing processing power and tactical data instantaneously across any distance. Dr. Patel's voice echoed through the command network. "Quantum field synchronization complete. initiating total spectrum dominance. The space around the Nexari fleet began to change as humanity executed their masterstroke. The quantum probability manipulation expanded, creating a zone where human technology operated at peak efficiency, while alien systems struggled to maintain basic functions. "You thought we were showing off before," General Rodriguez commented to Admiral Val, watching the tactical display. "But this is what happens when humanity actually goes to war. We don't just win battles, we change the rules of engagement themselves." The Nexari crews watched helplessly as their mighty warships were systematically isolated and disabled. Human quantum phase troops boarded vessel after vessel, their advanced technology making Nexari security measures as effective as paper barriers. Admiral Val's scales had shifted to the deep purple of resignation. "How?" she asked finally. "How did you advance so far without anyone noticing?" "Because we never stopped being afraid," Dr. Chen explained, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "Every time we looked to the stars, we saw both wonder and potential threat. So we built our cities underground, kept our true population numbers hidden, and turned our entire solar system into a fortress while making it look like a backwater. The battle was ending as quickly as it had begun. The Nexari fleet, once considered one of the most powerful forces in known space, had been completely neutralized without a single ship being destroyed. Humanity had demonstrated that they could win without wholesale slaughter, a demonstration perhaps more frightening than simple destruction. "And now," General Rodriguez stated, "we're going to have a conversation about the other species your empire has subjugated. Because humanity doesn't just defend itself, we protect those who can't protect themselves." As the last Nexari ship was secured, the true scope of humanity's victory became clear. They hadn't just defeated a hostile alien force, they had announced their presence to the galaxy in a way that could never be ignored. The species that everyone had dismissed as primitive had revealed itself to be anything but, and the galaxy would never be the same. The captured Nexari database revealed a truth that humanity had long suspected. They weren't dealing with just one hostile alien empire, but rather a coalition of advanced species that systematically exploited developing civilizations. The hunt for the remaining Nexari forces had become something much larger. Fleet Admiral James Chen, brother of Dr. Sarah Chen, stood aboard the bridge of Earth's most advanced warship, the Prometheus. The quantum displays showed the trail of a retreating Nexari vessel, leading straight toward what their intel identified as Coalition space. "They're running home to their friends," he mused, studying the projected flight path. "Just as we hoped they would." The Prometheus led a fleet of Earth's finest ships, each one carrying technology that had been specifically held in reserve, unseen even during the initial confrontation. These weren't just warships. They were technological marvels designed to adapt and evolve during combat itself. Dr. Patel's holographic form appeared on the bridge, her quantum-projected presence indistinguishable from reality. "The Coalition's defense grid has exactly the weaknesses we predicted. They based their entire network on Nexari protocols. Protocols we compromised decades ago. Deep within Coalition space, on a world designated as their central command, representatives from 12 advanced species were gathering in emergency session. The Nexari defeat had sent shockwaves through their carefully maintained power structure. The humans cannot be allowed to expose our operations, High Commander Vex of the Zorax Dominion declared, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. Too many subjugated species would rebel if they learned the truth. What none of them realized was that humanity had already infiltrated their most secure facilities. Lieutenant Kira Patel, Dr. Patel's daughter and Earth's most accomplished quantum phase operative, stood invisibly in the corner of their council chamber, recording everything. "Operation Lighthouse is go," she subvocalized through her quantum link, confirming Coalition involvement in at least 37 cases of species subjugation. Back on the Prometheus, Admiral Chen received the intelligence with grim satisfaction. "Send the data package to all Earth commands. It's time for Phase 2. Phase 2 unveiled another layer of humanity's preparation. Across Coalition space, seemingly primitive human merchant vessels suddenly activated dormant quantum systems. Each ship was a sleeper cell, positioned over years of careful planning. "This is what happens when you give humanity time to prepare," Dr. Chen commented to Admiral Val, who had been kept as a diplomatic prisoner. "We didn't just build weapons, we created an entire shadow civilization within your territory." The Coalition's response fleet emerged from hyperspace, expecting to face a handful of human warships. Instead, they found themselves surrounded. Every human merchant vessel had transformed into a fully armed warship, their quantum drives allowing them to be exactly where they needed to be. "Interesting design philosophy you have," Lieutenant Commander Marcus Rodriguez Jr. remarked as his ship, disguised for years as a simple cargo hauler, revealed its true nature. "You build bigger ships to show power. We just change the laws of physics locally to make size irrelevant." The Coalition forces discovered, to their horror, that humanity had ceded their entire territory, with quantum observation points, microscopic devices that gave Earth real-time strategic data across vast distances. Every defensive measure they had was already compromised. "Did you really think," Admiral Chen's voice echoed across all Coalition frequencies, "that we would come this far unprepared? We've been mapping your space, your defenses, and your political structures since we first detected the Nexaries studying Earth." The battle that followed wasn't really a battle at all. Human ships seemed to predict Coalition tactics before they were even executed. Quantum phase commandos appeared inside secure facilities simultaneously across dozens of worlds. The Coalition's mighty defense grid went dark as dormant human AI systems, planted years ago, activated. In the Coalition Council chamber, Lieutenant Patil finally dropped her quantum phase cloak. The assembled alien leaders froze as she calmly walked to the center of their gathering. "Humanity is not here for conquest," she announced, her voice carrying the weight of Earth's full authority. "We're here for justice, not just for ourselves, but for every species you've enslaved and exploited." The data she had gathered was already being transmitted to every subjugated world in Coalition space. The truth about their oppressors, along with the means to resist them, was spreading faster than any quarantine could contain. Admiral Chen watched the strategic display as reports flooded in of uprisings across Coalition territory. Humanity hadn't just defeated an enemy, they had sparked a revolution that would reshape the galaxy. "Send word to Earth Command," he ordered. "Tell them the board is set. It's time for the final phase." The galactic order was unraveling at a quantum level, and humanity was orchestrating every moment of its collapse. As liberation movements erupted across Coalition space, Earth revealed its final and most stunning secret: they had never been alone in their resistance. Grand Admiral Sarah Chen, newly promoted after the success of the initial operations, stood before the assembled representatives of 20 formerly subjugated species in Earth's hidden diplomatic center, buried beneath the surface of Europa. "Welcome to the Alliance," she announced to the gathered delegates. "Or should I say, welcome home. Some of you have been our secret partners for decades." The truth stunned even the Coalition leadership watching from their detention cells. Humanity hadn't just been preparing for their own defense, they had been quietly building a coalition of resistance among the very species the Coalition thought they had successfully enslaved. Dr. Maya Patel's latest quantum projection filled the chamber with a galactic map, highlighting hundreds of seemingly unconnected resistance movements. "Every uprising you're seeing now. We've been supplying them with quantum-masked technology and training for years. Today is just the day we stopped hiding." On thousands of worlds across Coalition space, apparent servants and slaves suddenly revealed themselves as highly trained operatives. Humanity had taken the Coalition's greatest weakness, their contempt for lesser species, and turned it into the perfect cover for infiltration. "Did you never wonder," Lieutenant Kira Patel asked the imprisoned Coalition Council, "why some of your subjugated populations seemed so docile, so accepting of their fate?" "They were waiting. We were all waiting." The quantum communication network humanity had secretly established burst into full operation. Resistance forces coordinated with precision that shocked their former masters. Ships appeared from dimensional pockets across coalition space, many crewed by mixed species teams that had trained together in secret for years. Admiral James Chen watched from the Prometheus as the coalition's mighty empire crumbled in days. Humanity's greatest weapon was never our technology, he commented to his command staff. It was our ability to unite others, to show them they didn't have to accept subjugation as their fate. The final phase of Earth's plan revealed the true scope of human preparation. Quantum repeater stations activated across the galaxy, creating an unbreakable communication network for the newly liberated worlds. Defense platforms emerged from dimensional storage, establishing safe zones where coalition forces couldn't operate. Dr. Sarah Chen faced Admiral Val one last time. You thought Earth was an isolated world, ripe for conquest. What you actually found was the headquarters of the largest underground resistance movement in galactic history. The liberation proceeded with the precision of a quantum algorithm. Each freed world immediately had access to advanced technology and training, carefully scaled to their development level. Humanity had learned from Earth's own history. True freedom required the ability to defend it. The galaxy you knew is gone, Grand Admiral Chen announced to the coalition leadership. But what replaces it will be something better. Not an empire built on subjugation, but an alliance founded on mutual respect and protection. The Nexari, who had started this chain of events with their attempted conquest of Earth, found themselves facing a choice. Like all coalition species, they were offered a path to redemption. Not as conquerors, but as equals in a new galactic community. In the aftermath, as representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered on Europa to sign the new alliance charter, Dr. Maya Patil activated humanity's final surprise. The quantum network didn't just unite the freed worlds. It created a shared consciousness of cooperation and advancement that would prevent any single species from ever dominating the others again. We hid our true nature for centuries. Grand Admiral Chen addressed the assembly, not out of fear, but because we knew the galaxy wasn't ready for instant change. We needed to prove that advanced technology without advanced ethics would only lead to more suffering. The coalition's former subject species, now free and armed with humanity's quantum technology, began the process of rebuilding their societies. Earth didn't dominate this new alliance. They simply showed the way forward, teaching other species how to defend themselves while maintaining their unique cultures and independence. Lieutenant Kira Patel, standing with her mother, Dr. Patel, as they watched the signing ceremony, summed up humanity's philosophy. The strong shouldn't prey on the weak. They should teach them to be strong too. As the new Galactic Alliance established itself, the story of humanity's long game became legend. The species that had seemed so primitive, so vulnerable, had orchestrated the most comprehensive revolution in galactic history, not through overwhelming force, but through patience, planning, and the fundamental belief that every sentient species deserved the right to determine its own destiny. The age of empire was over. The age of alliance had begun.